actually, let me ask this. How many of you, our webinar is getting recorded. So let me ask this. How many of you have, or maybe this is a better way to ask it. Where are you at in your magix journey? So are you newer to magix? Have you been using it for a while? Have you not used it yet? Like, where are you at in the magix process? And there's a bug in my coffee. Okay. Okay. So where are you guys at in your magix process? Just so I can see. Brand new, brand new. Luke says he's an old hand. New, never used before. New and looking to order this week, says Amy. Wanting to know more before I invest. Absolutely. Awesome. Just heard about it from Instagram. Sounds too good to be true. Hope I know I was right there with you. One weekend. Okay, so there are a lot of you who are newer. Misty has been using it for over a year. I love it so much. I'm reading this to you guys so that you can see what's going on in the chat. Jody says 2 years, beginning with Sue, and then some of you are newer. Okay, so I don't remember who it was that said it seems too good to be true. I want to do a quick little introduction for those of you who don't know who I am. So my name is Araz Nelson. I have been in the hair industry for 20 years, and I've been educating for 15 out of those 20 years. So about 5 years ago, there was an opportunity that was presented to me about this revolutionary hair color line. It's going to change the industry, all that good stuff. And I remember thinking, hair color is hair color. What's so revolutionary about it? And I was told, no, this is 10-minute color. Again, tell me if you have experience. Like at that point, I had experienced 10-minute color before, and honestly, I wasn't impressed. So have you guys in the chat box, let me know if you have used other 10-minute color. And I'm going to share with you my story while you guys answer that. So I just wasn't really impressed with it. I had found that, first of all, it wasn't a really wide range of colors that was available. But the most difficult thing for me was that they were progressive. So what I mean by that is, and this is before magix, right? I had tried 10-minute color because I love the idea and the logic behind it, right? Getting clients in and out quicker. You know, it all sounds so phenomenal. But then I would use it, and if I left it on for longer than 10 minutes, it was like, oh, okay, my level 8 is now looking like a 6, is now looking like a, you know, and so it's so unreliable that I had kind of closed off to that idea. Well, fast forward to magix being presented to me. Let's see, what are people saying? Old 10-minute color looks like shoe polish, or it doesn't work at all. Yes. I've used them. They either don't cover the gray, or they are really shallow, or they go too dark. Noemi says, nope, but I've heard rumors that 10-minute color wasn't great. Misty, I tried a couple other brands and hated them. It would get muddy results. It got dark way too fast. I found it muddy looking. Yes, so we all have the same experience. And so I think what's great is that for those of us who have tried 10-minute color, we're open to the idea of getting clients in and out quicker. We just haven't found the right product. So I ordered a couple of tubes of magix just to try it out. And I tried it out on my grandma, my aunt. Like, I wasn't going to use it on a paying client because I'm like, if this is anything like all the other 10-minute colors, I'm out, right? Like, I can't have that instability of progressive color. And so let's be honest here. Let's fast forward to 5 years. I use magix 10 solely on every single one of my clients. So I'm with you in that it seems too good to be true, but I'm here to tell you, as a stylist of 20 years, as an educator for 15 years, I have found that it has 100% changed my business. If you go on our Instagram, you'll see hundreds or thousands of hairdressers across the world who are using magix as their main color line because of what's possible to change your business with. And so today we're going to dive into it. We're going to keep this webinar short, sweet, and to the point. So what I'm going to do first is we are going to transition our screen so that you can see me and our beautiful model and our magix crew member, Sarah. So our model is here. I don't know, Sarah, if you can show her roots. Let's see if it picks up in the camera. Nighty, look down for me. So I think you guys can see, but what I'm going to do is I wanted you guys to see the model. I wanted you guys to meet Sarah. Say hi. Camera's there. Okay, so she is going to do the application while I tell you guys about Magix 10 and help answer your questions. So I'm also going to share photos of our model. So right now, Sarah's going to begin mixing, and I want to share with you the formula that she's going to be using. We're keeping it very simple. And like I said, if you have watched any of our Magix videos on YouTube, our model might look familiar to you. So her formula is a very simple one. For her roots, we are using a level 6 in the true neutrals. Okay, we're going to talk about the true neutrals. This is a new color family that we recently launched, and it is made specifically for gray hair coverage. Okay, this is your one-stop, easy go-to neutral that's perfectly balanced for gray coverage. So we are using the level 6 true neutral with 21 volume. Don't worry, I'm going to explain why. The 21 volume instead of 20. I know you're already thinking it. I'm going to explain why we use the 21 volume. So that will be for her roots. And then what Sarah's going to do is, you can see, and you'll see it more in the photos, her ends have lightened up a little bit. It's been a while since she's been in. So we're going to pull through a little bit of just organic lowlights to help darken and add dimension. And for that formula, we're using a level 6.0, which is the cool natural. And she's going to be mixing that with Fix, which is a 6 volume developer. So she will apply the roots. She's going to quickly hand paint a few organic lowlights. We're going to process for 10 minutes. And then Sarah's going to take her to the back. They're going to blow dry, and then she will be out. All of this is going to be done in under 1 hour. So Sarah's mixing. I want to share my screen with you guys so I can show you her before photos. Stand by. This is the first time we're doing this, so let's see how tech savvy I am. All right. Is it gonna work? It worked. Okay, so these are the photos that were just taken when she walked in. Stand by. Well, maybe it's not gonna work. Bear with me, guys. Oh, I think it's loading. Okay. Oh, that's a bummer. Let's try this. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. So you guys can see that she has some massive roots there. Sorry, love you. She has quite a bit of unpigmented hair, especially considering, you know, she's young, and we talk about this all the time. She's one of my regular clients. So there's another photo of her right here. You can see the sparklers. They are there, and they are definitely apparent. And so you can see how her ends have kind of washed out. It's a little bit warmer. So what we're going to do is apply the 6 true neutral in her root area, starting in the front. And then we will, like I said, organically weave some lowlights in through the back. And I'm going to see if these 2 other photos will load so that you can really get a gauge. Because here's how I am. If I'm in a class, or especially a webinar, I really want to see what we're working with. And sometimes the cameras don't allow us to really see the true color of the hair. So here's 2 more photos you guys can see. There's definitely her Rooty Tooties there, and we're going to pull through on the ends. So what will happen is, once we're done, she will send me some pictures of the after, and then obviously you guys can see it in the video as well. Can you guys see her doing the application? Let me know, communicate with me in the chat box. Can you guys see her well? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so let's get to it. I have the chat box up if you guys have any questions. This is how we're gonna utilize, okay, to communicate with me. So the first point I wanna make is, in regards to Magix 10, is what is Magix 10? What's the story behind it? I know a lot of you are newer, so I want you guys to have a little bit more clarity on what it is that you're using, right? So number 1, Magix 10 is an Italian color line. So it's made and manufactured in Italy. Here's the thing. The initial launch was in 2011. And what happened is when they initially launched it, it was with old 10-minute color technology, which is the experience that we were all just talking about with the shoe polish and the progressive and the not enough colors. It was old technology, and Magix realized, okay, no, this isn't working. So they pulled it off the market, reformulated everything with new technology, and relaunched in 2015. For those of you who are here, just know that Magix is an international company. So we are in just about every continent. We're in Europe, Asia, North America. I mean, Magix is a global brand, and US is one of the newer markets, like I said, about 5 years ago. So let's talk a little bit about old 10-minute color technology, because I think it's important to ease some of the concerns, if you have them, in regards to old technology. So I want to share the ideology, the method of how other 10-minute colors work, to my understanding. Other 10-minute colors are high in alkalinity. Let's think about it. If a color is high in alkalinity, what does that do to the hair? Right? If you increase alkalinity, what does it do to the hair? We're in the chat box, guys. Let's see. What does it do to the hair? Swells it, damages it. Yep. Right. So if it's a high alkaline product, okay, overswells the hair. So other 10-minute color G, let's do high alkalinity. So the theory is, let's blast the cuticle layers open as quickly as possible with high amounts of ammonia. And then the second part of it is, it's a heavy dye load. So what that means is there is a ton of dye in these tubes of color. So the ideology is, let's blast the hair open as quickly as possible. Let's pack it with as much dye as possible and hope and pray that the hairdresser washes it off in 10 minutes. Because if not, it's going to continuously process and get darker and darker and darker. That does not work. Are you with me? Does that work? Like, would you be comfortable with that? Absolutely not. And so Magix realized, okay, this isn't going to work. So they reformulated. Another concept that comes up for people with 10-minute color, clients included, is, oh, well, if it's working in 10 minutes, it must be damaging to the hair. It's not. So let me tell you a little bit about what we call the Magix 10 difference. So number one, our color is not high in alkalinity. Actually, our high lift blondes are the highest at 2.7% alkalinity. I'll tell you, this industry allows up to 4% in hair color. So we're at 2.7 in the high lifts, and then obviously significantly decreases in the lower levels. We also don't have a heavy dye load. We use what we call spectrum technology. And so what that means for you is, guys, the dye molecules, the precursors are smaller. They're smaller in size, they weigh less. So it doesn't take severe alkalinity to blast the cuticle to get these big dye molecules in. Right? Low alkalinity to just gently soften and swell the hair so that these small micropigments can then get into the hair easier and quicker, right? And then what makes Magix different is that the dye intermediaries, once they get into the hair, they couple and they combine and they get bigger. Because a lot of people will say, hey, Araz, if the dye intermediaries are so small, aren't they just going to wash right out of the hair if I use a high pH shampoo? Good question. So what Magix does is, once it actually gets into the hair, they bind, they couple, they get larger so that the color does not fade out. So if you formulate properly and you, if you create the correct formula, your color isn't going to slip, your color isn't going to fade, because it's now growing larger in the cortical fibers, and you have this beautiful shiny color that processes in 10 minutes. So Magix is very, very different than any other 10-minute color that you have tried. The other thing I want you guys to kind of consider is, maybe you've seen it, right? Maybe you have seen what's going on in the industry. There's a lot of 10-minute colors on the market, especially within the last couple of months. So there is a need for this 10-minute color, if you will. There is a need for services to be expedited, right? COVID showed us that. And so what happened is now clients are wanting to get in and out of the salon quicker. I always joke, I brought magix on as for selfish reasons, right? I wanted clients in and out quicker. But now my clients are hooked on it. And Nairobi's one of my clients. And she's even said to me before, like, I can't imagine having to sit here for 2 or 2.5 hours if I can get in and out in 1 hour. So we've been doing 10-minute color. This is what we do. And what's happened is there's clearly a need for something like magix, which is why you see other brands and manufacturers creating these 10-minute colors. Here's the difference though, guys. Most, if not all, other manufacturers, they have a regular line and then they have their niche 10-minute color line, right? It's not all that they do. Whereas with magix, this is all we do. I'm going to share with you the swatch book. So you can see that magix has, let's see here. Okay, so here's where it starts and we keep going. We have a giant color wheel, all of that. And all of those colors process in 10 minutes or less, other than the high lift blondes. So our high lift blondes actually process in 20 minutes, which is still absolutely mind blowing to me. And so to know that the magix creed, if you will, the mission is to save hairdressers time, to help you make more money. So we only focus on the highest quality ingredients that process the quickest so that you can have a life outside of the salon, right? Or that you can make more money if you want to. So that is in essence the magix difference, if you will. The whole line is 92 shades. Okay, we just added the 6 true neutrals, 92 shades, all of which can be used as a permanent, as a alkaline demi, as an acidic demi, and you can tone with it. And we have our high lift blondes along with our bleach. So this is a line that if you don't want to carry multiple lines, you don't have to, okay? I'm gonna pull up something really quickly here. 1 second, guys. Okay, so if you are, how many of you are in a suite now? Right, there's so many of us who in the last couple of years moved into what we call the suite life. Are you one of those people? Let me know in the chat. Let's see, suite, yes, recently moved. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so if you are in a suite, you know that, oh, Carolyn, the question was, are you in a suite? Did you recently move into a suite? Renato, yes. Yes, guys, I mean, you see it sweeping over the whole industry globally. Most people are moving from big salons into a salon suite. So you're limited in space, right? It's not cheap moving into a salon suite. So the idea of having to carry multiple lines, if you don't want to, you can just use magix. Now, if you want to carry multiple lines, you can. But magix, although we talk about it, and most of the models that we do are for gray coverage, every color service that you do in the salon can be done with magix, saving you at least 50% time. So think about if your root touch-up client is there for 2 hours, if you can get her in and out in half the time, what does that mean for you? Right? Is that a nice little raise? Is that a little bit more money for you? Absolutely. And so knowing that magix is a versatile line, it's just to me a no-brainer, right? And some people will bring it on just for gray coverage. And then they bring it on for gray coverage and they're like, oh, no, this is game changing. Because you can literally double the amount of clients that you take in a day and double your income. So just to put that in your minds of what's really possible with a 10-minute color line that's not progressive, that has options and shades, 92 colors to pick from. I mean, you guys, there's reds and violets and copper and gold and ash and sand. And so it's very, very exciting. And we've seen it in the last year or so. So many more people are coming on board because they're like, oh my gosh, this is changing the game. So I want to talk a little bit about the tonal families that we have. I'm going to bring the swatch book back because sometimes there is a little bit of confusion. So we recently launched the true neutrals. Okay. The true neutrals come in level 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And these are specifically for gray hair coverage. So up until or pre to the launch of true neutrals, we have two natural families. So we have a cool natural, which is the 0.0. I'm going to show you guys on here on the color wheel where that is. So we have the cool natural 0.0 is right in through here. So that, I think the lighting is way too bright. Cool natural is a yellow green, okay? So it is a brown with a yellow green background, 0.0. We also have a warm natural, which is 0.00. And here's where the issue was. A lot of people would grab the 0.00 thinking it's for extra gray coverage. Well, on the color wheel, 0.00 is right here. Okay, so that is a yellow orange. So what we were doing is you would create your own neutral, right? You would mix a cool natural, a warm natural, and make a neutral. We don't have to do that anymore. We have the true neutrals for that. So whatever level you need, you take in the true neutrals, you mix with 21 volume if that's what you're wanting for the best gray coverage, and that's it, okay? So cool natural 0.0, warm natural 0.00, and then we have true neutral. The true neutrals, like I said, I'm going to keep hammering this home. They are designed specifically for gray coverage. So when you think about if there's a color family that's designed for gray coverage, what do you think makes that different than the rest of the magix colors? What do you think makes them different? Lindbergh Jeremy says, now I find why I find them warm. Yes. Yes, the 0.00 is a warm natural. So people would call me like, hey, Adas, there's hot roots. And I'm like, no, you use gold. Like you use a yellow orange. Okay, so Amy says a more pigment load. So they're not double pigmented, okay? It's just the way the true neutrals are formulated is, first of all, they're balanced. So it's not cool, it's not warm, it's neutral. Visually, let's see, Carolyn says darker and more solid. So the way I describe them is that the true neutrals visually are a little bit more opaque. They are a little bit more saturated. Yes, Luke says it's a richer formulation. They're a little bit more saturated, a little bit more opaque. They are, so visually they're going to look a little bit darker than the warm natural or the cool natural from magix, right? Because it's for gray coverage. So if you're using magix now and you transition to the true neutrals, most likely what'll happen is you're gonna find that it's maybe half a level darker than you're used to seeing with magix. But that's what we need when we're dealing with unpigmented hair, right? When we're dealing with salt and pepper, we need enough of a robust deposit on the salt, and then we need enough deposit on the pepper, especially if we're lightening it so that it looks uniform. So that's what the true neutrals are technically doing for you, is it's giving you that robust deposit. It's giving you that full opaque gray coverage without having to make your own neutral. All in 10 minutes, by the way. Adds more depth and fills the missing pigments in gray hair. Yes, that's exactly right. Can you mix the true neutral level 5 with a 5.0? Yes. So that's how I use them a lot of times, unless I'm dealing with like 75, 80% white. I will make half my formula a true neutral, and then half my formula, whatever level that is, in a cool natural. So say a 6.00N, which is true neutral, and then half 6.0 cool natural. And that way I still get a little bit of reflect, but I'm getting that robust coverage without it being too opaque. So you can absolutely mix and match any of the magix colors with the true neutrals. When you're dealing with under 30% white hair, you can use any of these colors in the swatch book for coverage for that hair. So you don't always have to balance it. You don't always have to add a true neutral when we're dealing with 30% and below. It's when we're dealing with over 30% is when we recommend mix a little bit of true neutral into your formula. So if you're doing like a level 7 gold and they have 40 or 50% white hair, 5 to 25% of your formula should be a true neutral because we have to address the white hair. Okay, Michael says 0.0 is cool natural, 0.00 is warm natural. What number is true neutral? So true neutral is 0.00N. I'm going to write it in the chat box. So it's 0.00N. The N stands for neutral. So when you go to order, it is 0.00N. That's what the true neutrals are. Do we have any questions so far? Are you guys excited? Yes. Good. Okay, no questions. Okay, so back to gray coverage with magix 10. So like I said, under 30% white hair, you don't have to balance it. You don't have to put a neutral. 30 to 50% range, you want to add 5 to 25% of your formula in a true neutral. When you're dealing with over 50% gray, 25 to 50% of your formula should be a true neutral. Let's see, I use 5 neutral on gray, 90%. You use the true neutral, Patty or Pat? I use 5 true neutral on gray, 90% with 21 volume, and it seemed like hot roots. I use another color level 6 on her and didn't have hot roots. Okay, so Pat, that is a really good question. And it brings me to a point that's very relevant when you're switching any color lines. Like I said, guys, I've been doing color for 20 years. I have played with many, if not all, color lines on the market. The one thing I have found is a level 6 is not a level 6 is not a level 6 is not a level 6. A level 5 is not a level 5 is not a level 5 is not a level 5. So what I mean by that is every manufacturer has a different perception of what a level 5 should be, a different perception of what a level 6 should be. And so what can happen is if you typically, like Pat, right? She was using a level 6 with another brand. She used a level 5 with magix and she felt like she didn't get, it looked hollow, or what did she say? It looked like it was hot roots. So most of the time what happens is that the dye loads are just different. And so the best thing you can do, especially if you're bringing magix on, is compare our level 6 to your level 6 that you're using currently. You will find that there may be a difference. And this is with any line, X brand and Y brand. You compare the level 6s or the 4s or the 2s, they will look different because of the background tone that's used in colors, because of the dye load and the depth. They're not the same. And so I think hairdressers make that mistake a lot of times, is where, oh, I use a 6N, I'm just gonna grab a 6N. And then it's like, oh, wait, it wasn't the same. How much lift is possible with gray coverage? Good question. So we have our different developers, which I'm going to cover in a second. We have Fix, which is a 6 volume. We have 12 volume, 1 volume, 32 volume, 40 volume. I would recommend to not do any kind of gray coverage with 40 volume. The max I would say is 32 volume. So who was that was asking that? Jeannie, how much lift is possible with gray coverage? So you can get up to 3 levels of lift, maybe 4, depending on the client's hair texture and just the whole structure of the hair. But that's one of the things that differentiates magix, is you can get lift. So you can get up to 3 levels of lift with hair color, 4 to 5 levels of lift with our ultra lift blondes. Not recommended for gray coverage, but magix has the ability to lift as well. So up to 3 levels, you can get lift, okay? Let's see here, gray coverage on levels 1 through 4. Okay, great question. So typically, guys, in a level 1, you don't, our 1.0 is dark. So there is no gray coverage issues in level 1 and 3. In level 4, if you're dealing with a very resistant client, or something that you're concerned about. I've gotten perfect gray coverage with a 4.0, but if you're worried that the hair is too white or that it's too resistant, you could add into the formula either a level 4 gold or a level 4 intense natural, warm natural. So your formula would look like 75% 4.0 to 25% either gold or warm natural. And that way you're creating that, you're making that neutral to get that coverage if there is an issue with the coverage at a level 4. So I personally have never had problems with that. But if there is an issue, add the 0.00 or the 0.3. Okay, let's see. Luke says, I do this now on several clients with 32 volume. I think what he's referring to is lifting. So he gets solid lift and gray coverage with the 32 volume. So I want to talk about the color families a little bit more, just so you know what options that we have. Jeannie says, how long does the coverage last for? The coverage lasts as long as any other traditional color that you use. So again, I want you guys to think about Magix 10 as it is hair color. The technology is a little bit different, but the laws of color and formulation don't change. So it still behaves like traditional hair color. It just processes in a shorter amount of time. And so I have found that when my clients come in for their 6-week coverage or their 8-week appointment, the color still looks great. I mean, there's minimal fading, especially if their hair is porous or damaged, or if they're not using proper shampoo and conditioner, but I haven't had issues of the color slipping out of the hair prematurely. Sarah, have you? Yeah. She says it stays longer. So, and that could be because of the spectrum technology, but I haven't had any problems with it slipping. I have seen it fade like normal hair color fades. I mean, you can see in the client's hair, the ends are faded out. I mean, we didn't pull through last time, but it does eventually fade out. Amy, what is she putting on the ends of model's hair? So she mixed up a level 6 cool natural. So level 6.0 and a cool natural for the ends. I didn't want to pull the true neutrals through for 2 reasons. One, there's no gray on her ends. So I don't need that robust deposit. I don't need that more saturated look on her ends. Number 2, her ends are porous. So if I pulled the 6 true neutral on porous hair that's already a more saturated color, her lows are going to look too dark. So instead, I went with a 6.0 cool natural. So there's enough coolness in the 6.0, it's a yellow green, okay? So there's enough coolness to help counteract some of the warmth there, and enough dye to help break up that color and make it look a little bit more dimensional. So cool natural, you use the Fix, right? Fix 6 volume developer as an alkaline Demi. So 6 volume. Okay, Carolyn says, why 6 volume versus Fix and why 0.0 instead of a 0.1? So 6 volume is Fix, it's just Fix a 6. So we're using the Fix 6 volume on her ends. I didn't want to do the 0.1 because that's a more blue-green. I don't want to ash her out. I just want to help refine that warmth and just tone it down a little bit. Had I used the 0.1, I was going to get an ashier result. So this time we went with 6.0. Okay, what is she putting on the ends? We did that. Okay, what if someone wants a natural brown without any red? Okay, Sally Ann, I always say this, good question. So a natural brown without red, this is such a nuanced question because, and here's what I'm gonna assume, tell me if I'm wrong, okay? I'm gonna assume that the client has a level 5 and below and is wanting to be a level 7 and above, am I right? Because if you're trying to get a natural brown with no red, yes, and 50% gray. Okay, bingo. So she just validated exactly what, because we run into this all the time. So she hates the red tones, got it. So anytime you are dealing with level 5 or level 4 hair, what's the undertone, guys? We're gonna go back to beauty school. What is the hair going to give us? The hair contributes half of your formula. So what does the hair get? Red, bingo. Okay. That red is a strong red, especially if client has coarse hair, especially if they are high in pheomelanin. So the red is strong. And then you're trying to lift 3 levels. So are you using 32 volume? Sally Ann, I'm waiting for your response. So if you're using a higher alkaline color, so if you're using a level 7, that alkalinity is going to create lift. And then you're using a higher developer, you're going to have an issue with combating that red. She said she switched to 12%. So that is 21 volume, right? Is 12% 21 volume? You don't do percents. Okay. Sally Ann, is that a 21 volume or did you mean 12 volume? Because 12% is 40 volume. Okay, yeah, 12 volume. So that will help. In this case that Sally Ann's talking about is the client wants a natural brown, no red, but we're lifting a couple of levels and she's naturally dark. It's almost unavoidable unless you do one of 2 things. One, do a double process. So lift past the red, then deposit your neutral. Or number 2, use our color enhancers. So we have quite a few color enhancers. They're like, they're additives that you add into the magix color formulas. They're right here. Let's see. So there's gray, orange, violet, green, blue, gold, and red. So those are oxidative. They're not direct dyes. Okay, they're oxidative. They're not direct dyes, and they're made to help finesse your formula. Okay, so you can add some green or some blue to your formula to help refine that red. But at the end of the day, guys, it's very challenging to combat what the hair gives you when it's really, really red. Okay. But I would use, to your point, I would use a true neutral, I would use an ash, and I would use some enhancer, either blue, green, or gray enhancer to help combat some of that warmth if you don't want to do a double process. Okay, Amy, when do you start 10-minute timing? After total application or the mints to ends for a less time? Okay, good question. So her roots have been on for longer than 10 minutes right now, guaranteed they're covered. We are keeping it on longer because we had to pull the low lights through. But here's why it's okay with Magic, it's not going to get progressive. So her roots are going to be true to tone when we're done. So she used fix on the ends, which is a 5 to 8 minute process. So she'll put the timer for 5 minutes and then she'll take the client to the back and wash. So the roots have probably been on. You want to just take her back now? Yeah, you can. You want to actually, Nighty, do me a favor, get close to the camera really quick so you guys can see. Let's do this. I just want you guys to see where we're at. I gotta look in the camera. Okay, so if I pull this out, you guys can see, I think, that coverage, right? It's beautiful, it's rich, it's not reflective. The roots are ready, but if I need to leave it on for longer, like 5 or 6 minutes, we're good. Thank you, babe, you can go. We're good. I don't have to worry about it progressing. I don't have to worry about it getting darker. Let me switch my camera again real quick. Here we go. Hi. Yeah. Okay. So when you start the 10-minute timing, yes. Sally says, really important to let new stylists know to remove the color from the skin. Yes, guys, any color that you're using, level 6 and below, typically will stain. Magix is not exempt from that. There's a couple of tricks that I like to use. I don't like a barrier cream. So I will take a little bit of shampoo on my hands before I put any water on the hair and just kind of rub the hairline, make sure to remove that excess color. Okay, so where's my swatch book here? So I want to just go over the color enhancers. So what is some clients find the color itchy tips. Okay, before I go back to the enhancers, I want to address this because I know you asked it a couple of times. So there are a couple of ways to address the itchy scalp because there are a couple of reasons on why we experience or why clients get the tingles. The number one thing you want to do You guys see it's blurry. So Magix 1 Up. This is a pre-color treatment that you can use even if you don't use Magix. What this is going to do is a couple of things. Number one, it's going to help you achieve better gray coverage. Number two is it's going to even out and equalize the porosity on the end. So if you're pulling color through, 1 Up will help with evening out the porosity. But the number one thing is this will help with scalp sensitivity. So I know a lot of old school stylists, and I used to do it too. We used to put Sweet Low. We don't do that anymore, right? It's 2021, almost 2022. We have products for this. So 1 Up is going to help give that same effect. The Sweet and Low, that's got polyamine sugars in there. It's got niacin vitamins. You spray it on the scalp before you color, and then put your color right on top of it and then shampoo it out. This is going to help with any tingles. This is if the client has a sensitivity. Another thing that I've seen happen, I'm not saying you guys do this, but maybe you do, I don't know. If you don't mix your color well enough, okay? And there are any clumps, I've done this before. So if I didn't mix well enough and then I'm putting the color on and there's a clump, and I just use my brush to kind of break up the clump, that can cause tingles. That can cause sensitivity. Do you know if you can mix them with Anidot? Yes, you can. Yeah, I know stylists who use it with Anidot and you're getting perfect results. But back to the bowl of color, if you have clumps in there, those are little ammonia gas bubbles. As soon as you break it up, it releases its ammonia and it causes the tingles. So my first question would be to address what is causing the tingles. Is it a scalp sensitivity? Because this will help. Is it maybe improper mixing of the color? Because if that's the case, mix up your color really, really well. Is Magix PPD free? No, it is not. So there is PPD in the darker color. So if you have a client who is allergic, do not put it on the scalp. So I have a couple of clients who are sensitive to PPD. They're not allergic. It's two different things. The allergy creates the swelling. It's a nightmare. I've had 3 clients in my whole career who've actually had a PPD allergy. And then there's a sensitivity, which causes a little bit of tingles. It's a little bit uncomfortable. And so how I avoid that is I typically will put it in foils so that it doesn't touch their scalp. Luke says, it helps to pre-mix the color creams first before adding the developer, less ouch. Yes. So if you're mixing multiple colors in a bowl, mix those colors first and then add your developers to make sure that you're getting a nice mixture of color. Let's see. I started using I'm going to assume milk frother. And it mixes beautifully, but honestly, this is the easiest mixed color line I have ever used. I love that, a milk frother. Okay. Making sure I didn't miss any questions, so it is not PPD free. Jody says makeup wipes remove it awesomely as well. Sally Ann uses whisks. Yes, so super important to not only mix your color really well, and this goes across the board, guys, not just with Magix, like hairdresser to hairdresser, mix up your stuff, mix up your lightener really well. Because if you don't, you run into problems. The second, like, really important thing, hairdresser to hairdresser, even if you're not using Magix, but especially if you're using Magix, measure and weigh out your formula. I cannot stress this enough. I know a lot of us tend to eyeball because you've been mixing on a scale for long enough. Let's not eyeball, because I want to talk about what could potentially be happening if you eyeball your formula. So let's think, if I eyeball my formula, and if I measured it out, or you eyeballed your formula, I measured it out, and actually you put more color than you did developer. What could happen in your results if there's more color than developer? Too deep, too heavy of a deposit. It's dark and lacks depth, inconsistency. Bingo. So if I have more alkalinity and dyes than I do developer, I'm going to get a darker result. I'm going to get an inconsistent result. I'm going to have issues with deposit. Let's flip it. Also too harsh on the scalp. Yes, I mean, you're now putting more ammonia than what was recommended. So let's flip it. What happens if you put too much developer, not enough color? You didn't measure it, right? And I measured it for you, and it's like, whoa, you put almost 1.5 times the developer that was asked of you. What can happen there? It can create a color band, translucency, bingo. So now we have too much developer, not enough dye. So my gray coverage results are going to look a little bit more translucent and reflective. My results may be even warmer than what I initially wanted, because developer creates undertone, it fractures the melanin. So I'm going to get an inconsistent result. Yes, too see-through and no coverage. Bingo, you guys are right on the money there. And so the importance of weighing out your color, whether it's in a scale, a beaker, whatever, however you do it, is huge to getting consistent results and being able to match your formula next time if you choose to. So super important to make sure that not only are you mixing your color really, really well, also that you are weighing everything, and that way you don't waste color, guys. Don't want to do that, especially right now. Okay, let's see. I feel like there was a question. Why do you use 21 versus 32 when covering gray? Okay, and then let's address that first. So I want to talk about our developers so you know what they are and what their roles are. Okay, so number one, we have the fix, which is a 6 volume. Remember, that's what Sarah used on Nairi's hair when we did the low lights. The 6 volume creates a alkaline Demi permanent. Okay, so it's still alkaline. We're not acidifying it, but it creates an alkaline Demi. Okay, fix is a 6 volume, 5 to 8 minute processing time. Our 12 volume is what you would compare to like a 10 volume in another brand. Okay, it creates a long lasting Demi. So it's a little bit more oxygen in the developer. The color is going a little bit further in the cortical fibers, which means it's going to last a little bit longer. So 12 volume, you mix equal parts. It's a 10-minute processing time for a long-lasting Demi. For example, if any of you follow Nikki Wildflower, she does her root smudges with magix Alkaline Demi, right? She mixes her color with 12 volume and she smudges the roots out, doesn't fade out, the lines don't come back. She's brilliant. 21 volume is what we recommend for gray coverage. That's what color is tested with. That's what's going to give you the best dye development. That's what's going to give you the best results for gray coverage. That doesn't mean you can't get gray coverage with 12 volume, right? If the hair is fine, if the hair is porous, or if you want what I call modern coverage, you could use 12 volume. It's going to give you a little bit of a different coverage. Okay, so 21 volume is your standard go-to. 32 volume, so Nicole, why would you use 32 volume versus 21? 32 volume is if you're trying to create a little bit more lift. Say the hair is really dark and you're wanting it to be a little bit of a lighter color, you can use 32 volume. You can also use 32 volume for non-gray coverage. Say you have a redhead and she wants to be bright and vibrant, you could use any of our reds with 32 volume to give you a little bit more lift, a little bit more oomph. Okay, and then we have our 40 volume. Our 40 volume is really, in my opinion, reserved for the high lift colors. So our ultra lift blondes, which I'll talk about in a second, that's what I use the 40 volume for. I don't typically use 40 volume with my formulations. I'm just not a fan, but that's just me. That's just me. So the different developers will give you different results. Again, fix, alkaline Demi, 12 volume, long lasting Demi. Gray blending, okay? 21 volume is what you're going to use, your go-to for gray coverage. 32 volume when you want a little bit more lift. I always say I'm not going to tell you that 32 volume will give you 3 levels of lift because I don't know the hair. I don't know the texture. I don't know your formula. All I know is that 32 volume will give you more lift than 21 volume will. And then we have our 40 volume. Okay, let's see. Can you please go over percentage of true neutral and mixture to percentage of gray again? Yes, I'm going to put it in the chat box, guys. So that way you have it under 30% gray, use any color, okay? So 30, and what I mean by use any color, any of the magix colors without true neutral for under 30% gray. So if you have a client that's under 30% gray and they want mahogany, use straight mahogany. But when we're dealing with 30 to 50% gray hair, 5 to 25% of your formula should be true neutral. I'm putting this in the chat. You guys can see it, right? Let me know if you can see it. 50 and above. Yes, you can see it. Okay. So 50% gray and, oh, let's see here. So over 50% gray, then 25 to 50% of your formula should be true neutral. So here's what I love about, one of the many things that I love about magix is I've known other manufacturers that I've used before, and they say this: percentage of gray on the hair is the percentage of neutral you have to use. Okay. What happens if they have like 100% gray and I want a red? It's a problem. So with magix, even at 90% gray, 25 to 50% of your formula should be true neutral. So you don't have to overload your formula with a neutral to get gray coverage, because our true neutrals are powerful. Oh, there was a whole Q&A box here. Would you have to, I'm sorry I missed these questions, guys. Wow. So typically I look in the chat box, not the Q&A section. So would you have to use a filler when going light to dark? Yes. So anytime you're going more than 2 levels darker, a filler is absolutely necessary. And that's just color laws, right? Because if you don't fill the hair, your end result might look muddy and it definitely won't last as long. So I look at a filler as an anchor to fill the hair, as an anchor for the final formula to adhere to, okay? Luke, do we have a filler guide? No, we don't. There is no clear mixture because it depends on where you're starting and where you're going. I will say, which I was going to talk about, is these enhancers. Where are they? I typically use the enhancers with our 6 volume, okay, for a filler. Here's why. There is no brown in any of these enhancers. They are straight pigment. Okay, they're not direct dyes, so they come out of the tube white and creamy, but they are straight pigment with no brown. So when I have a copper and I want my copper to be more vibrant, I will use yellow or I will use orange. If I have an ash client and I want to smoke it out a little bit, I will use gray because there's no brown. Instead of using a level 6 copper, a level 6 gold, a level 6, you know, I use my main formula, say it's 6 copper, and then I use my enhancer. Okay, so you can mix these in with any of your magix colors, or you can use them alone with 6 volume developer as a filler, as an anchor. If you have a blonde and you're doing direct dyes and you're going red, for example, why not use the red enhancer first and fill the hair and then put in your direct dye over that? Your color is going to last longer. It's layering different types of dyes and it makes the hair look more beautiful. Okay, Carolyn says going from a level 9 to a 5. Yeah, you need to fill, but you have 2 options. Number 1 is you can put in your filler formula. With that situation, I probably go twice, probably with a gold and then a red copper, if the hair is porous, but we can chat about that if you want to. I'm going to put my Instagram here, guys, if you do have formulation questions. I am usually pretty good at getting back to, oh no, that wasn't it. Hold on. Okay, so there's my Instagram for anybody if you do have formulation questions. But the fillers, there's 2 ways to do it, right? You can either put, say, orange with 6 volume on the hair and then towel blot it out, put your formula directly over it, or you can put it on, wash it off, put it on, wash it off. That's your choice. As long as the hair isn't like overly saturated with the filler, then you could apply directly on top of. When you're mixing any of the enhancers with 6 developer, you only have to leave it on for 5 minutes. So It makes going back darker a lot quicker. It makes corrective color a lot quicker. Okay, what if you mix the orange, blue, and green? Will you get brown? You can get a muddy neutral with the enhancers. There is no brown. You would have to depending on, and we can talk about because I love doing this kind of stuff, but it depends on the saturation of brown you're looking for. And you're definitely not going to get the coverage that you need, but you can make different browns and neutrals, mixing the primaries and the secondaries just for fun. You absolutely could. Jeannie, how much 6 volume would you mix? So with the fix, your color ratio is 1 part color to 1.5 parts of 6 volume. So 1 to 1.5. And then when you mix our 12, 21, or 32, it's always equal parts. And then with our 40 volume and ultra blondes, it's double 40. Okay, can you please explain the fantasy colors? Yes, so this top row here is what we call the fantasy colors. I always joke, so there was a direct translation, so I know maybe it doesn't make sense because most people think fantasy are these colors, and they're not. So the fantasy colors are the top row of colors. And all that they really are is pre-blended colors. So instead of having a gold and an ash, we've made the 0.31, which is a golden ash, right? Like a matte gold. There is the 8.24, so it's a level 8 violet copper. They're just pre-blended colors. They're absolutely beautiful. And they work just the same as every other magix color when it comes to gray coverage. So below 30%, any of these colors, you're good to go. 30 to 50%, add a little bit of true neutral. Over 50%, add a little bit more true neutral. They can be used as a Demi permanent, alkaline, or acidic permanent, color balancing. I mean, they just don't belong in one family, so we made them the fantasy family. And they are absolutely beautiful. Let's see, Shelly, I had some of the colors stain the skin. Is there a trick to getting the stain removed? So I think I shared that already about do not put any water on it. When you send them to the shampoo bowl, just put a little bit of shampoo in your hands and the color kind of just rub the color in and it removes it, and then put water. Once you get water on where the stain is, that's it. You've locked it in, you're in trouble. Okay. Let's see here. My favorite color cocktail is chocolate raspberry. Does Moan make a stain remover? No, we do not. We can definitely put in that suggestion. So the fantasy colors, does that answer your question about them, guys? Fantasies and enhancers. Are we pretty clear? Hope says if you have excess color mixed, go over the top of the stain before rinsing it off with more color. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's basically like I take the color that's on the scalp and rub it into the color that's stained on the skin, but it's the same concept. If a client wants a few lowlights on a level 9, could you add the enhancers to your lowlight formula? Absolutely. Absolutely. The color enhancers, like I said, can be used alone with 6 volume developer or mixed in with any of the magix colors. So again, if you want to smoke, like one of my favorite things is a smoked mahogany. So I will mix my, where is it? My mahogany and a level 5. Okay, that's what that looks like. And then I add the gray enhancer and that smokes my mahogany. So it makes it look a little more smoky, a little more muted. So Luke says, I love the S series with gray added. Absolutely. Okay, here's Sally Ann's chocolate raspberry formula, 5.75 and 5.16 with 12 volume. Beautiful. That would be absolutely beautiful. Okay, I hear them blow drying the model in the back, so I'm sure they're going to be done soon. And so I want to go over just a last few things. Our ultra lift blondes, how many of you guys use ultra lift blondes? While you answer that, Nicole, when mixing 12 volume, the ratio is equal parts. Okay, so let's talk about ultra lift blondes really quickly. So we have 6 different high lift blondes to pick from, okay? And they can give you 4+ levels of lift depending on hair texture, natural level, all that stuff. 6 high lifts, and they process in 20 minutes. So think about it, guys. Typically, ultra lift blondes take how long to process? A very long time. Yeah, 45, 55, 60 minutes, absolutely. So our ultra lift blondes will lift and refine in just 20 minutes. Missy just said, I use ultra lift on my dark haired curly girls who want a gentle color change. I do too. So although the high lifts are traditionally geared for taking blondes blonder, when you use it on dark hair like mine, it gives the most beautiful caramel color you could ever imagine in 20 minutes. So I do foils on a lot of dark hair clients with our ultra lifts, and it gets me 3 levels of lift. It's slightly warm, absolutely beautiful. But if you're wanting to take a blonde blonder, you know, the perfect candidate for a high lift, guys, level 7 and above, fine hair, fine texture, and wants a little bit of warmth, you will get them there, no problem with the high lifts. What's cool about our ultra lift blondes is that when you mix them with double 40, they will act as a high lift, right? 3 to 4+ levels of lift in 20 minutes with double 40. You can also mix our high lift blondes with our Fix developer, which is a 6 volume developer, and Magix Morph. So a lot of you are newer to Magix. I want to briefly explain what Magix Morph is, and I have a cheat sheet for it on how to mix it and mix it in with Magix. So if you're interested, send me a DM on Instagram, and I will send you the cheat sheet so that you have the mixing ratios. What Morph is a acid transformer. This took Magix to the next level. So anytime you want any of the Magix 10 colors to perform like an acidic Demi, this is your ticket. Okay, a few drops and it acidifies your formula to make a true acidic Demi permanent. What that means is when you mix your formula with 6 volume and Morph, you don't have to worry about warmth when you're toning. How many times does that happen, guys? Where you put a toner on, you don't realize it's alkaline, and then all of a sudden you got a base bump? Gives me anxiety. So with Morph, you don't have to worry about that. If you want a true deposit only color in a cream, Morph will do that for you. So I know there's a lot of us who use acidic Demis in a liquid form. There's a time and a place, right? But what I found is when I have an acidic Demi in a cream, it lasts significantly longer in the hair. I feel like liquid Demis, you sneeze and it's gone. Or you flat iron on a little too high heat and then like it's gone. With a cream, I feel like it gets a more opaque deposit, but it's still a true deposit only with Magix Morph. So what this does is it takes Magix and takes the whole line, and you can now use it as a gloss, as a color balancing, to refresh ends. If you don't want alkalinity, Morph will help acidify your formula. I find I have been using liquid Demi much less now because of Morph. Yes. Yes, next level. When Morph came out, I knew I'd never be able to leave Magix 10. Sally, on the cheat sheet, I don't have it on my computer. If you can send me a message on Instagram. Because here's the thing with Morph, I'm putting my Instagram in there one more time. With, excuse me. With Morph, there is a mixing guide to help you to understand how to mix it. So here's the only thing you need to take into consideration. And then if you buy it or if you use it, that all this information is on our wall chart. And also I will send you the cheat sheet. But when you're using any of our high lift colors with Morph and Fix, you will need more Morph than if you're mixing in a level 3. right? Because think about it, a high lift has more alkalinity than a level 3, which is why you would need more morph for a high lift than you would a level 3. Does that make sense? Michelle says Instagram again, please. Sure, it's at this underscore is underscore Aras. But I put it in the chat one more time for you guys. Okay. Bigger bottle of morph would be awesome. Bigger bottle of 1-Up would also be awesome. So let me make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Hold on. You guys, if you have questions, this is the time. We covered the developers, mixing and timing. Okay, so this is something that's kind of important, I think, is when would you use an acidic demi versus an alkaline demi? I have found that there is a lot of confusion. And so I just want to give you guys a couple of tips on when to choose acidic and when to choose demi. Sally Ann, where do we send our finished work to share? Just if you tag us on Instagram or on Facebook, our social media team will see it all and they will definitely share your work. Okay, what level do the high lifts sit at when using as an demi? So I would say they sit at a level 10-ish, 9, 10, maybe a little bit more depending on the porosity of the hair, depending on, ooh, our model's ready. Depending on the porosity of the hair, depending on what you're putting into your formula. But we also have a 0.00, which when used with our high lifts gives extra alkalinity. When used in toning with our high lifts, acts like a clear. So the 0.00 mixed with the high lift and 6 volume and morph, the 0.00 acts like a clear, so it helps dilute. Sometimes if the hair is really porous and you're afraid it's going to grab too ashy or too dark, you can mix 0.00. So let's think here. Okay, so I want to talk quickly about acidic demi versus alkaline demi. So acidic demi is a true deposit only. You will not get a base shift. Your natural melanin will not be lifted. It processes at a pH of about 7 or 8. So anytime you want a soft and subtle deposit of color, anytime there's virgin hair on the head that you don't want to shift, anytime you are toning a level 8 and below, or 8 and above, I'm sorry, like 8, 9 high lift, you probably want to use an acidic. If the hair is overly processed and damaged, you probably want to use an acidic. And so these are the times where you would want to choose an acidic demi. You don't have to worry about the integrity of the hair being compromised, and it acts like a true deposit only. So I just got some of the photos, but I'm not going to share them yet. Okay, so then when would you use an alkaline demi? Okay, alkaline demi is almost like a permanent, right? It still has alkalinity in it, even though you're mixing it with a lower developer. It can cause the natural hair to shift or base bump. If that's not what you want, don't use an alkaline toner. It can shift around your melanin and create some undertone. So basically it can shift the base, and it processes at a pH above 9. So there is still a time and place when you would choose alkaline demi. For example, for a model, I chose an alkaline demi. Global bleach and tone, the toner, alkaline demi, totally fine. If there's slight warmth in the hair and you're trying to combat warmth, alkaline demi, totally fine. If there's no virgin hair on the head, say you do a highlight and a root touch-up, alkaline demi is fine. And then if you're toning a level 7 and below, I would recommend an alkaline demi. Lindbergh, do you have a good formula for a root blur on a level 6 or 7? Depends on what you've lifted to. So what is the hair at? Are we orangey? Are we at a blonde? Tell me where we're at with that. But I want to share with you guys 2 things. Number one, for those of you, actually, I'm going to share the pictures first. Let me see if I can get them up. Remember last time I was having some issues. I am still having issues with loading these photos. There we go. Okay. I want to put in the chat box, guys, if you are interested in trying Magix 10, right? You saw what we did. You're going to see the results right now. You're going to go to getmymagixkit.com. Okay, I put it in the chat box. And you are going to use November webinar as a coupon code to give you 30% of an eye opener kit. So the eye opener kit is 3 of the true neutrals, level 5, 6, and 7. It is a 21 volume developer and a wall chart. The wall chart has all the info that you need, all the mixing, the timing, the morph, all of that stuff. And so let's see here, let's share screen. I'm going to show you guys the picture. So you guys can go to getmymagixkit.com and get that eye opener kit for 30% off, you guys. That code is only valid until today, and you guys can see the beautiful results. You can see it's nice and dimensional at the ends. I'm going to see if we can get her to come to the camera. No, let's do this. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Okay, if we transition here. Okay, so you can see those beautiful results. Maddie, look down for me. You can see her gray is covered. Her ends look good. Can you open around a little bit? Not progressive. It didn't get darker. Look at how silky and shiny the ends are. You did a great job blowing her hair out. What do you guys think? Yes, Lindbergh, Jeremy. It is only for US. The coupon code is for just US, guys. So yeah, look at those beautiful results, guys. This was just under an hour. So again, reminder, if you are wanting to try Magix 10, go to getmymagixkit.com. I'm gonna also share with you guys how to find your local distributor. So if you, oh, hold on. Let's do this. Okay, go this way. There we go. So if you are, say you buy the color kit off getmymagixkit.com, 3 colors at 30% off, but you want to try more colors. When you go to getmymagixkit.com, there is a link on the top that says Get Magix. If you click on that, it will take you to a distributor. Amy said, yay, I just found my local distributor. Yes, it will take you to your distributor locator. And then you just put in where you're located and your local distributor's information will pop up. So that is for if you're wanting to find your local distributor. We have the Get My Magix kits, or the kits available for those of you who are wanting to try Magix at 30% off. The coupon is good for 1 kit. Okay, so November webinar, all caps at getmymagixkit.com. Also, if you guys want the morph cheat sheet, send me an Instagram DM and I will get that over to you guys. But I don't want to keep you guys for much longer. I will post these pictures and videos on my Instagram as well after today. So thank you guys for your time. I really, really appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoy using Magix and what's possible for your business. And I hope you guys have a great and fabulous week and holiday, and we will see you next time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Did I get all the questions? I did. All right. Bye, everybody.